Hey everyone, welcome back to Rhythm Railroad. So this is update number 40 of my HO scale layout. Happy New Year, it is January, getting towards the middle of January. And I figured, with the layout number being number 40, it's a pretty big number, which seems hard to believe that I'm here already. But I figured I'd make a pretty extensive layout update. So, we're going to start here at my dispatcher's office, which is new. Well, it's not new. It just moved to a new location. So this is actually my second floor of the house. And it's still under construction. As you can see, some things are still, being worked on, trim work and stuff like that. For the most part, it's done. It's a very comfortable area. It's also got a bathroom right next door, which is nice for the dispatcher. And because it's 2 floors away from the layout, it's actually a nice sense of separation from the actual layout. So the reason I moved the office up here is because the original office was next to my master bedroom. And we have great news. We are expecting a baby in May. So we turned that office into a nursery. And obviously everything came up here for this. So we're excited about that. And it's comfortable up here anyway. Originally I wasn't sure if the Wi-Fi was going to reach all the way up here. And also I did have some things hardwired, and things were connected much more expansively throughout the first floor than here on the second floor. So I did run some Cat 6 wire, but I never ran it through the actual walls. So it's sitting in the storage space back there. I think I might be able to get one Ethernet cable out here, or Cat 6 cable out here for the cameras, which is the only thing I haven't hooked up yet. It's the I used to have the cameras running through this monitor and the dispatcher panel through this one. But if I can't do that with a hardwire situation, I'm sure there's a way to project it using some kind of device, some Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or whatever. And I'll eventually get that up and running as well. It's just nice to have the cameras on the monitor. So anyways, that's the only downfall, not a big deal. But let me just show you what I'm doing. So sometimes when I don't have a dispatcher around, what I do is that I run the trains from up here just to kind of get a sense and a feel of, how things are going to be run. And just to see if the connection is good and things are working accordingly. So, I do have a signal up here. It's not super strong, at least for the layout for the throttle. But that doesn't matter as much because obviously dispatcher's not running a throttle necessarily. But I don't know if you can see here, I only have, looks like 2 bars on my Wi-Fi from the railroad. This is the Rhythm Railroad Wi-Fi. The home Wi-Fi is nice and strong. So that means that the dispatching situation will be hopefully flawless, even though it's not hardwired. So this is the panel. I've made videos about updates to the panel, but you can see the trains are right now. The only thing I have running right now is this manifest train, and it's just going in circles. What I did is I fleeted the signals, and this line just is basically a giant circle around the entire perimeter of the basement, going around. And the reason why you see little gaps here like this is because I have like a whole string of tank cars, and then I think I have like 2 or 3 hopper cars that don't have resistors yet. So once in a while, it loses the connection for the occupancy. So, but what's nice is that I can run, the train from here. So for example, I'm going to run the train on track 2 here. Number 181 is my intermodal train. And so, I can select my locomotives here, set up my consist. So it's number 911, which is a beautiful engine. 3194 is right behind it, another beautiful one. I'm going to add that, it's right behind it. And I forget the last one. Let's see if I have it here. I should have it. 3204. So I'm going to add that. It's also reverse. And let's see. I'm going to set up I'm going to give myself some signals and get the turnouts lined up. Sorry about the dogs, they're always barking. And I'll give myself a route up to, I guess, up to Whitehall, which is right here. And I'll get the train going. And we shall see very soon if that's actually progressing through there. But while we're up here waiting, I'm also working on car cards. So I have an Excel spreadsheet going here, and I've I'm still working on it, but I basically just categorize things into the type of car. So if I click here, this is all my box cars. My cabooses, center beams, covered hoppers, whatever. But I got this template from a buddy of mine, Dave Barraza, who's got a very sophisticated, car card system, and everything is awesome on his layout. But I was able to use his file to kind of create a template for my own. I'm not doing it exactly like his, because he's got many more aspects to his sessions and his operations, but the general feel of the cards and the size and everything I liked when I was over there. So I figured, if I can get some kind of template, I can make my own. So he was kind enough to share that with me, and I've been printing them out. I'm using cardstock, just regular staples, kind of like tan color cardstock. I got this whole thing for like 20 bucks. Not terrible. And then what I do is I cut them on my little cutter here, and then just make one fold. It's got markers, so you know how to fold. So basically this whole thing folds upward, and it ends up right under this information here. So that creates a little pocket for the waybill, which is the next step. Haven't gotten up to that yet, but at least I'm making my car cards. And as you can see here, we have this train moving along nicely. So right now, this is the helix. It's making its way down to the helix, and it'll soon be on the second level. And I should probably get downstairs soon so that I'm gonna slow it down a little bit, but I can catch it and not go past that signal. But yeah, basically this is very comfortable. I got the phone here, which will eventually be hooked up for the dispatcher, plenty of walkie-talkies, and plenty of table space for doing any kind of writing, if you have any kind of timetables or anything like that. And so I'm very, very happy with this. And let's head downstairs and catch this train. All right, so now we're making our way down the stairs. I did paint the stairs and added a banister, which is nice, because this handrail was not here before, and people were having a little bit of a hard time getting down the steps, and also leaning on the walls and leaving fingerprints, which I hate. But so here's the layout room. As you can see, the panel is here as well. So when I'm downstairs, I can control it from here. When I'm upstairs, I can control it from there. And I'll show you around and tell you what's been going on. Let's just check on that train first, though. This train should be very, very soon coming through here. But while I'm here, couple additions. I added this signal here, which used to be back here, but because I did a lot of work on the yard and I added a lead, which we're going to talk about in just a sec, all of these turnouts moved over to here. And now the problem with that is that if I put the signal here, especially with the Darth Vader hoods, it's impossible to see unless I turn it completely this way. So what I did is, either way, I have a crossing here, so I figured I'd just make it a little bit further down before the crossing. This way, when the train comes by, if there is something happening here, which is rare, but if there is something happening there, at least we can stop before the crossing and not completely upset the neighborhood here on Main Street with, the Starbucks and gas station, two of the most important things, and UPS, I guess, too. But train should be popping out anytime. Oh, no, it's crawling down the helix, which is in there, by the way, if you haven't seen my layout updates. So we'll let that work its way through a little bit. While we're on this side, let me show you what's going on with the new yard modifications, I guess you can call it. We have been working a lot on, my friends and I that run the sessions typically here have been working a lot on figuring out the best way to, get traffic from one yard to the next and from one staging section to area to the next. And so what we found very, very useful is this yard here, this mini transfer yard, which is Whitehall Yard. But the issue was that we were using it originally, but it was bottlenecking on both ends. So either when we were working on getting traffic in and out of the yard here, there was no other track here because originally this was a single track instead of a double track, and there was no crossover. Obviously, there was just one track coming through, and then it split into a siding here, and similarly on the other side. So by adding this extra track, it definitely alleviated all of that. And now we can be working, we're gonna be drilling here on this inside track, and on the outside track, we're gonna be running trains through, whether it's on the actual track or we can cross them over. For example, there's a train here. While there's a train drilling here, we can cross it over and get it out of the way. So that helped immensely. Also, the issue is that, the reason why that was happening is because there was no lead off the main track. So, any trains from the main trying to deliver rolling stock to this yard had to stay on the main. There was no way, you can't have heavy traffic on this short line here because the rail is not meant for that. So that was the other issue. Now on the other end of the yard, the issue was that the exit point used to be right where this truck is. You can actually still see where the turnouts came in, and there was two problems with that. Number one, the way the turnout, even though it was a curved turnout, the way it came into the yard was very, very tight and had to make a dive, coming off the cork to the level of the foam. And so that created a lot of derailment, especially with the longer rolling stock. So I always wanted to change that, but I wasn't sure when and how and, if it really mattered that much. But it ended up mattering a lot because now what my friends recommended was that I build some kind of yard lead for a yard switcher, which is this guy here, so that the yard can be rearranged or reclassified while traffic is still going on the main. That makes sense. But when I first built the layout, I didn't know much about that stuff. So little by little, I am making this thing more efficient and more able to be, just a better way to run sessions without getting things completely screwed up here. So this used to be a little industry track that I now turned into a yard lead and also a parking place for the switcher. And so, here comes the train now. That's the train we were running from upstairs. So it's crawling because I didn't want to rush down here. But anyway, so this is the lead, and now you have the ability to go over the roadway here with its own bridge, which, by the way, I love how this bridge came out. Very excited about that. It came out really, really nice. It was a little tricky getting this figured out, but I did, and now it's working beautifully. And I also changed all of these turnouts to curved turnouts so that I can make a nice soft transition into the yard, which, by the way, also extended the length of the tracks naturally, because before they were kind of turned to make that connection there, and now since I was able to get rid of that hard turn, I gave myself a little bit more room, not too much, but it's enough to get an extra car in there or something. So then, the yard stayed the same. This is nothing different here. It's all just the 4 tracks that run to the other side where I showed you. So much improvement there, because now, like I said, trains can deliver. We've been trying to make it so that trains only deliver from the south end, which is over there. This way, even though it's possible, you don't clog up the north end, right? Because the north end only has one track. It's a single main here. So there's no way to, if somebody's working here, there's no way to get traffic down or up. So this definitely helps if you make the traffic or the yard usage only on southbound trains. All right, so that's basically it for that. There's a few things I still have to change. Like, for example, you see these two little white styrene rods here. Those are the detection for the crossing gates. But what happens is if I'm switching the yard, the crossing gates are going down because I'm, beyond this track here. So I gotta just move this stuff forward or put it in the actual rail, which is, I don't like to do it when there's so much clutter, like underneath. It's just kind of hard to do that, but I might be able to pull it off. We'll see. I pulled it off on the other side, so it's just a pain in the butt. Okay, so that takes care of that. That's very new. Something that's a little new is the signal up here. This used to be just a Digitrax tester that I had just sitting there just to make sure everything worked, but I just replaced it with a actual signal. So that's kind of nice. And the only other thing I have to do, which I haven't gotten around to it only because I don't have the basically the platform to do it on, right? That's all open grid right there. So that's eventually going to get masonite board, kind of like this. I just haven't gotten around to it because I was installing all the switch motors and all that stuff. But I am going to put this bridge, this signal bridge, right back there, because I used to have two, regular signal masts over here and over there. But now that I added all this stuff, there's no room for that, for the signal mast. So the actual base of the bridge will be on that side, and it will come over this way. So you'll be able to see the signals from this end just fine. And that's the last little detail from this second level that I can remember that I've been doing. I also added this tank, which I think adds a nice little touch there. It also gives a sense of separation because it pushes the backtrack visually kind of back further. All right, the other big thing that I've been doing is this. This is tremendous. I've been working on this probably 70% of the time that I've been working down here. And, I actually have a whole sequence on how I made this happen and why it's happening and all that stuff. So go back and watch those if you want to see it. But the last step that I've been working on is the water. And it's coming out really nice. I still have to do a bunch of work on the cascading effects and all that stuff. But at least now it looks like, the river's coming down and dumping into this deeper area here of the river. And I love how the bridge came out. Very happy with that. And also how the transition into the yard. This is a lead, by the way, if you haven't seen the videos. It's a yard lead. But I love how it comes through and the cement wall, nice and weathered. I really love how this is turning out. It does run all the way through. It's a huge lead, and it comes in right here. This signal I'm going to get rid of because I was told, I just don't know too much about this stuff, but I was told that this signal doesn't make sense here because there's a signal right after it. So theoretically, this signal should be here, right? And then this signal would allow traffic to go through before a train came through. But what my friend suggested to me was that I make this an electric lock, and this way it's got nothing to do with signaling. It's just a matter of getting permission into the main from the dispatcher. Then you lock it up, or you unlock it, get out, and then you lock it up again. This lead is also not meant for an exit point for the yard anyway. The exit point really is here. So once trains are built, it's just a matter of hooking up, pulling the train out, and if it's longer than 1 yard track, it could also back in again and grab the second string and go on its way. But generally speaking, this yard is meant just for drilling because I didn't have enough room on the other side. So anyways, I think it's coming out really nice. I'm not sure what I'm going to do here. This was the original spur that I had. Is basically just a spur that went out to like an industry right there. I think I'm still going to have some kind of industry. I don't know that I like this building here. It might be too much for this little space. So I might do something simpler by bringing the industry through here. But I did have another thought. It doesn't make sense to clog up the main here, so I might just get rid of this completely and just put the switch like here somewhere. This way I still have headroom with this new lead to drill the small industry that's going to be there, whether it's like a little kerosene thing or like a scrap metal thing or even just a transfer yard kind of thing. Not a transfer yard, but a transfer track, transloading. So we'll see. So that's what's new there. Moving on through here. The only thing that I've done with the gate is that I added these Ethernet self coiling plugs. So now when I open the gate, they stretch out. They just basically on each side, they just expand. And then when I close it, they shrink. So I don't have like wires hanging here. That's been a really nice thing. And obviously, let me just stop the train because this is the stopping point. So obviously the connection from here to here needed to be made somehow. So I got these little Ethernet terminals with screws, which are really, really nice. Let me see if I can find. Oh, here it is. So all I got to do is basically screw everything on one side, and then the Ethernet bridge goes to another one of the terminals there. So when I open the gate up, I just got to disconnect this, and I'm done. That's all it takes for all the wiring that's happening here. Moving on, a lot has happened here. I think I've made a video about this as well, but basically this is becoming my main industry. It used to be a bunch of separate industries, and now it's just basically becoming mostly Finch paper. It's like a huge paper company. And then also Lehigh Cement back there. But the idea is this chemical plant is no longer going to be here. This chemical plant's going to move to this back corner, way down here. It's going to live back there because it only gets 3 cars anyway. It's not a major company. And then what's going to happen there is that this is going to be my slurry track for the slurry tanks. I'm going to make this look a lot bigger. I'm sorry, that's not what it's going to become. It's going to become the tissue company that is in what I consider Glens Falls. Even though this is Fort Edward, Glens Falls is just off. It's like a short line right off it. So what I consider is the main line is Fort Edward, and then the spurs are Glens Falls. And then the slurries are going to be back here. So rather than making a station, I was going to make Fort Edward Station here. I'm going to move that. I'm not going to have a Fort Edward Station at all because I'm going to put the station, the first station after Saratoga Springs will be here, and that'll be Whitehall. So I'm probably going to use that building back there that I just showed you for another station on the 3rd level, and I'll probably just build a Whitehall station. Whitehall station is a very like crappy looking station. It's just, you know, it's very, very like modern and boxy, and it's not really like a nice old fashioned kind of look like these beautiful stations, right? Got nothing to do with that. It's just like a brick box basically. So I don't know. I might do that, or I might just say, hey, we're going back in time and it's the old Whitehall station, even though we're running like, you know, modern equipment through it. But anyways, so that's going to be its own thing. That's going to be the slurry back there. I just, I'm going to hook it up to this very long team track that I have here. That's providing service for the cement plant back there, and also providing service for the other Finch packaging company or building right here. So those tanks were originally going to be slurry tanks, and they were going to live back there, but I don't like everything being back there anyway, so that's why I decided to move them. So this is just going to get 2 boxcars, sorry. And then those tank cars are going to be coming off of here, so the slurry tanks here, and they're going to be all the way in the back corner there. So it'll be kind of cool because you'll have to think ahead when you're doing that switch job, so you have, you know, the ability to do the trailing points and the facing points. You know, there is no runaround track there, so that's going to be a little tricky. I might put a little small 3 tank car size runaround track right here before I hit the actual industry, but I don't know. It's not likely because I don't want all those switches back there. So it'll have to be something that has to be thought of ahead of time. And what I imagine is you only provide, you only switch the trailing points, and then at another time you switch the facing points. That's basically what it's going to end up being probably. So that's what's happening here. A lot has happened here as far as modifications, but that's all on my other videos. It's just I've been trying to make things a lot more useful for all traffic instead of just like short rolling style, because these curves were very, very tight at one point. And this runaround track was very, very short. So now it's very lengthy. And this is also new. I added a back end to the storage track because it was only a stub-ended track right here. But I had trouble with such a short lead into the main line there. So by doing this, first of all, it's easier because you could just pull the box cars, which are going that way anyway, instead of having to like pull them from that side, asking permission to go on the main, getting back here, going into the runaround track, going all the way around, hooking up again, pushing them back in. It was just way too much to do for one industry. So that's that. Other things on this level, I'm trying to think. I think that's about it. Oh, well, these two industries are now going to be, chips, wood chips, and the lumber for not the lumber, but the pulpwood for the paper. So this will eventually get 4 bulkhead cars for the lumber. I keep saying that. For the pulpwood, and this can get 2 or 3 cars here. I can probably fit a third one there, but I don't think it's necessary. And so, it's just more switching jobs. So basically what's happening is a Finch switcher, the Finch paper switcher, is this guy here. And he's taking care of all that stuff. Now, for now, I have these cement hoppers here that I was just playing around with. But I think the cement hoppers, or the cement plant's going to be switched by the Whitehall switcher back there. And his job, aside from classifying the yard, is also going to be getting into the main through here and then crossing over and accessing the companies that are outside here on that side. Well, at least the cement plant. If not the cement plant and the new tissue company there. So I'll figure it out, but that's all in the works. Okay, so moving on. Nothing really happened here on the second level. This is all status quo. I am working on making some kind of like tour train, like some kind of like scenic railroad. That it does exist at the Saratoga Springs station. I forgot the name of the railroad, but it's like an old Delaware and Hudson engine. But for now, I want to make it like a steam thing, so I'm just using this. This is way too much, and it's got Amtrak cars, Am fleets all over it. That's not the way it's going to be. But this is just for fun right now. But I have my own track for that. It's also supposed to act as the Amtrak station, Saratoga Springs station track, so it's out of the way of the domain. But I'm willing to use it for that too. This is one of the newer scenes. This is coming out really nice. I still obviously have to glue the backdrop in, but I wanted to kind of live with it for a little while, and I really, really like the way this is coming out. I got to make a bunch more trees to kind of, blend in with those right there. I made one already. This came out pretty good. And this is using the boomer method with the static grass and the, golden products and all that. They're not as good as his, obviously, but, I got to practice and hopefully get better. Actually, both these trees were made kind of with his method. But this is the kind of tree that I want to blend into the back there. I painted the bark kind of like a faded grayish white to kind of let it blend. So hopefully I can make a couple more of those and just kind of scatter them throughout here to blend in with the backdrop. I think that'll look really nice. And then obviously I got to put some kind of water effects here. I'm still debating what to do here because this is on a slight slope downward, so I don't want to use a Envirotex light. I think it's just going to pool up back there, and it's going to look silly, and it's going to be impossible to get out. So I'll probably go with the GAC 500 or similar. But I'm trying to figure out if I should do some kind of fading with like sand or something here. Although theoretically, this is supposed to be a very deep part of this river. That's why they built the wall there. But I guess there could be a little sand here and around here somewhere. I don't know. I got to play with it and see what I can do. I could also Google some pictures of scenes similar to this and maybe have some kind of reference. That would probably help. All right. So that's basically all of the second level things that are going on. Let's go to the main level here. This is tremendous. I made a whole video on this also. So this is my new staging yard, which is going to represent trains from Binghamton. And what used to be Selkirk Yard, which is my main yard here, is now Mohawk Yard, because it makes more sense, even though it's not perfect, it makes more sense that the trains from Binghamton would end up at Mohawk rather than Selkirk. So that's what we're going with. But I have 4 tracks here that are very, very, very long. I can get like, a typical 35 to 40 car train in there because it goes down and around the entire peninsula. And then this 5th track that I have here is designed to eventually come out this way. And there's going to be an industry that lives down here. I don't know what it's going to be, but that's what it's for. But while it's still there, I haven't been able to build out, or I don't want to build out, it's better said, because I still need to get under there like frequently. So I already built out enough where now I have to kind of crawl a little bit far to get into the control panel or all my electrical panels and stuff. I mean, it's easy, but it's if I have another thing coming out, it's just more work and more potential for me to hit my head on something. But eventually, this is the reason why I built this so long, is because this is going to act as a backdrop also. So it's not just a fascia, it's also going to be a backdrop from here down. So if I'm still taking pictures here, you'll just see black. But if I'm taking pictures here, you'll see the backdrop. So that's why I'm doing that way. So yeah, so this track, for now, what's happening is I isolated the track on both rails so that I can use this as a temporary programming track. It's just easy to like access, and then I can just slide everything over, and then you get the layout power from here. So that's just an easy transition right now. And it's something that I forgot to put back in after I extended this, because my programming track used to be down here, and it was just a pain in the butt to get down there. So it's nice that it's out here now. The Binghamton staging comes into the yard. I also made some modifications on the yard. I spoke about this in other videos as well. There is a reverse loop now that goes all the way through and comes out here. And, there's reasoning for that. Just take a look. It's just I don't want to get into it right now, but it's definitely making things flow much better with that in place. The actual yard has stayed the same as far as the yard body, but I did switch this turnout, which is, I'm going to leave it there for now, just in case. But I did, instead of the oil tank platform here coming from there, it's coming from this side now. So the turnout is actually here, and it's feeding it this way. Now, the reason for that was because, again, my friends were over, and they said, well, it's much easier to pull the tank cars this way and then shove them in, rather than having to go all the way around, to get behind the train and then shove them in the other way. Plus, you have to pull them out first, and then, so it's a whole thing. And the yard lead really closer to this is on this side. So this whole thing is a yard lead here, which can be extended. Right, the yard lead really continues here, even though it's kind of like a team track. But all of this is the yard lead up to this intermodal thing. So another thing I've been working on has been originally this. So here's my yard switcher for this yard. Originally, when I had these auto racks coming in, you know, the longest track is this furthest track back here where the auto racks are going in right now. But what ended up happening is it was kind of like an S-curve here without really wanting to, but it was a very tight turn here, and then it made a hard right to get into that track there. And that's only because I had this turnout bumped, like pressed up against this turnout here, just like the other ones. So it was like a ladder. But that was such a tight turn that all these cars were derailing right there. So my friends, they recommended a lot. They came by and they tried to do this, and they realized that everything was derailing. And so Jimmy, one of my friends, Jimmy, decided to suggest to bring this switch back further. And what that does is it helps to soften this, you know, kind of like entrance track here, or the entrance segment of the track. And now it's a lot easier. Let me just show you real quick for this switcher to get these cars back into the track without derailing anything. You can see it's a very soft curve now. So that's definitely an improvement. I did that last night. And I'm really glad I did it. I was debating just making a rule that no auto racks would go there, and but when you're running a session, you want the least amount of rules possible, because it's just you want to simplify things so that people don't have to like get bogged down on like reading and knowing all these things. And if there's newcomers, they're gonna mess it up, and then you're gonna have to re-rail all these cars, and it's just it seemed as though it was gonna be a nightmare. So I'm just really happy I did this, and you can see everything's going in super smooth, and there's no issues at all. And even with the power, I did power the frog and soldered the joints so that the electric current would go through without any problems. So I'm really, really happy with how that came out. And even though it was a little bit of a mess here, I was able to control it so that I didn't get stuff everywhere. But now at least, we're good to go. So that's new. I'm just waiting now on the little caboose hand throws. I got a bunch of them. I ordered like 10 or 15 of them so I can get all these. The one back there doesn't have one yet. This one, all the ones on the yard at the top, these I installed already. And then all of these need it. So, there's plenty of them that still need it. And then I'm going to obviously add these too. So I probably need another 10 here also, because all that stuff's going to be hand thrown. The only thing that's electronic or using tortoises are the ones back here, because they're not accessible with your hand without like breaking something. And the ones over here as well. Although even though these are accessible, you can still control them from my little JMRI panel here. So this is kind of cool, because the yard master can sit here. There's going to be a little stool here with wheels. You can sit here and control everything from here, and then the hand thrown stuff could be right here. You don't have to go very far for that. And then if you're over there, which by the way, that's going to be Kenwood Yard, and this is going to be Mohawk Yard. But if you're working Kenwood Yard, which is kind of like, for this situation, it's kind of like an extension of Mohawk, there could be an assistant that goes over there, but you can also get up or roll over to the other side and control that if you're working down there. But this is nice because you can control at least this side of the yard from the panel, or you could also use these micro switches, which I installed. These are nice because you can barely see them, but it's just a little click and they go. So those can be hidden really nicely with once you put the ballast around it, you barely tell they're there. So all these have hand control. The only one I haven't hooked up yet is the double crossover here, or whatever you call that. just because I haven't had the time to put the wiring in and all that stuff. But so yeah, so that's a lot of work that has been put into this yard. And you know, I still have to do a bunch of stuff in the actual shop. I had to take this out here because this used to be a connection to here. So I got to add track there. I got to make my pad. There's going to be a concrete pad in front of the shop there. I got to make this is my fueling tracks here. So I got to make a pad between them, add all the pumps and whatever, you know, tanks and stuff. That's going to be kind of like the yard office back there, that area. There's going to be another industry kind of for these two tracks here. I don't know what it's going to be, if it's going to be tanks or hoppers or whatever. I got to figure it out. But yeah, so a lot of work to do. Also, I think what I'm going to have to do is split the yard into different districts, because I basically have all of this here, and Kenwood Yard, and that facility, and the shop, and this, all on the same district. And what's happening is, even though it doesn't seem like a lot of space, there's a lot of tracks. So there's a lot of volume within this little area. And because of that, you know, if you have a bunch of engines running and you have things moving and there's a lot of traffic at some point, it's bogging down that district. And I've actually had some locomotives kind of like short or drop, you know, power because there's too much going on. So I think what I'm going to do is separate districts by making this, you know, this yard and that extension its own thing, its own district. And then I'm going to make the shop tracks its own district. And then I'm going to make Binghamton its own district. Luckily, when I bought my PSX X's to split the, you see the little green boards back there? You can see there are two that are not lit up on the right side. Those were extras. I bought them like in bulk, you know, like in sets of 3, basically. So I was going to split other things further, and I was like, oh, I guess I don't need to. And then now I'm glad I have them, because I could use 2 of those. I still have to get 1 more, but you can use 2 of those to get this resolved. But, oh, the other thing, that's the other thing that is connected to. It's also Whitehall up on the second floors, on the second level, is connected to the same district. So that's why I have to like separate things a little bit further, because it's definitely a lot of resistance going through the same district. So, all right, so that's basically it. This is number 40. Unbelievable. I guess at 41, we will see if we can get some of these things that I described finished and accomplished, including this lower level here, which, by the way, the lower level used to be Mohawk, the staging. Now that's going to be Newark, and it's kind of like coming up the river line, and then up to, you know, all the way up to Selkirk, basically. But also, these tracks over here are representing Penn Station for the Amtrak tracks. So I have 2 tracks that are separate from the other things, and they come out through, you know, the staging tracks also. So you really don't see the Amtrak train until you get here. I mean, there's no real, I mean, I guess this could be like the tunnel for coming out of Penn Station or whatever, but that's also in the works. Okay, I also wanted to show you some of the new equipment that I've gotten. These 2 locomotives are fairly new. The one on the right, definitely newer. The one on the left here is the Scale Trains CW44ACs, which are really, really cool. And they're still being used in modern day. I mean, they look really beat up, and they're usually some kind of trailing unit, because they don't have the antennas like the modern equipment like this. But apparently they have trouble with those being in the lead. But this new Lehigh Valley Heritage unit is amazing. It's really, really nice. I got it as a Christmas present from a dear friend of mine. And the details are just, you know, I mean, typical Scale Trains. Amazing details, except for the coupler. The coupler is always terrible. but I'll get those switched out. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. I love the color. And the Heritage units, in my opinion, the Heritage units from Norfolk Southern are a lot nicer than the CSX ones that are just coming out now. I don't like them. They look unfinished to me. I also got this caboose, the CP Rail caboose, which I have to really weather. It's going to be extremely weathered because obviously this is not, this is modern times, so it would be really banged up by this time. But it's a Rapido. It comes with the little magnet wands to turn on lights. It's got little, marker lights and stuff, which is kind of cool. And I think the windows move. They open and close. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if they have sound or not, actually, because this was a gift, so. All right, I also got these coil cars. I think these are exact rail or tangent. I'm not sure. Got to look back into that, but beautiful cars. They don't come with the hoods. That's the way they were made, without hoods, and they have like the safety or like the barriers there. I guess to hold the coils in, but really nice. I'm happy with those as well. Those are really cool looking cars. So those are two more that I got. All right, I also got these Procore 2-bay hoppers, which are really nice with the handrails that go all the way to the top there. Kind of cool. I've never seen hoppers like that before. I'm not sure that they would be modern or not, but they're, again, a gift, so I like them a lot. If anything, I might put some just like little safety stripes on the bottom just to make them look modern and just give it a little bit of weathering, but really nice. All right, and this is the final car that I got, which is amazing. This is a favorite of mine now. It's a depressed flat car from Class 1 models, and also the load, this huge transformer, which is amazingly detailed over the car here. Just really awesome work, awesome details, really cool looking car. And I imagine this is going to be its own job. It's probably going to be a very short train that just, brings this load from one place to the next. I was a little preoccupied with getting that high and wide load through the bridges and through tunnel portals and stuff, but I got it through everything. The only exception was this bridge had similar to this one, these little 45-degree angle braces. That was the only one that was hitting. Now the reason why I can get through this one and not through that one is because that's an older bridge. So I just, I snipped them off. Nobody's gonna know. Well, now you know because I told you, but it makes it through there just fine. It makes it through there just fine. It makes it through these portals just fine. And there's really no clearance issues at all now. So that's kind of cool because I was a little worried about that. So yeah, great looking model, awesome looking load. And I'm looking forward to putting this into action with the sessions as well. All right, well, thanks for watching. Happy New Year. And I will see you at update number 41.